Hello. I'm back this week with another experiment, and I just wanted to check in and make sure that you're on the right track with the experiment that we did last week, pardon me. So, Probably a lot of you were looking at your pee every day and were like, it's nothing's happening. And that's what I was doing. I was actually getting a little bit concerned, and I was like, is this experiment actually going to work? And then yesterday, I looked at my little pee guy, and he's actually made roots. So I guess I planted him on Tuesday, so I guess that means that it takes about 5 to 6 days for peas to germinate, which is funny enough what the package directions actually said. So you should be getting little pea roots probably within the next couple days if you planted your peas on Tuesday. If you planted them on Wednesday, then it'll take a little bit more time. So maybe some of you are wondering, like, how is it possible that this pea was actually able to grow in paper towel and not in soil, because there's no nutrients in paper towel? Well, that's because the seed itself has all the nutrients that the seed needs to start. It's basically like a chicken egg. So it's able to eat the seed, the stuff inside the seed itself, and then use that to grow its roots. So eventually, yes, you would have to take this out and plant it in actual soil so that it could survive. But this kind of builds off of what we're going to be doing today, in which we're going to be exploring how plants actually transport those nutrients and water throughout their bodies. Because when you think about it, something as large as a tree, it's pretty incredible that they're able to suck up water and nutrients from the soil and in the ground and transport it all the way to their leaves. And when you think about it, it's like, how are they actually able to do that? Trees are just as alive as we are. They just don't behave or act the same way. Obviously, they can't jump around and make sounds or do those sorts of things. So how are trees actually able to do this? So in order to explore how this works, you have two cups in your kits this week. One is labeled with a color. It says color on it, and then it has a little tick mark on the side, and the other one is just labeled dry. So we're going to perform an experiment with celery. So celery, you can get it at the grocery store. I bought yours at the grocery store. So you're going to get a celery that just looks like this. And this is just for you to get an idea of how a celery is actually physically put together, because they are a living creature. When you look at one of the ends of your celery, you'll notice that they have all of these little kind of dots on the bottom of them. Those are basically the equivalent to their veins and arteries. So you know how we have veins and arteries that pump blood throughout our body? That's basically what those things are in plants. And those are called xylem and phloem. And in your little card that I give you with your instructions, I actually include photographs of xylem and phloem under a microscope. So xylem is basically what transports water. Phloem is what transports the sugars that plants make from photosynthesis. So last week I told you, yes, plants have leaves, and they basically take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, water and nutrients, and sunlight, right? And they combine all those things and make sugar with it. So the phloem, which is part of these little arteries and veins things that you can see here, that's what they use to transport the sugars down to their roots or wherever else. So plants take water from the roots and they actually pump it to their leaves through a thing called xylem, which you can see in the bottom of this celery stem. And then they create sugars in their leaves and they pump it down to their roots using phloem. So whenever you bite into a carrot or a potato, those are actually plant roots. You're literally eating plant roots, and that's why they kind of have a sweet taste, is because they take that sugar and they store it in their roots. So in order to perform this experiment, you're gonna have to get your celery out. So you'll need some water and you'll need some food coloring. So I provided those to you, and what you're gonna do is just put a couple drops of food coloring in here. And then you're going to take some water and fill it to the fill line. So you have some lovely blue water. If you have other kinds of food coloring at home, you can use it, but I would really only recommend using blue or red, because I tried this experiment with all kinds of different colors, and those are the only two that really seem to have dramatic results. So then you're going to take one of your leafy guys, and you're going to stick it in this water. And you can also stick this guy in there too, just to, test to see what happens with the ones that don't have leaves. And then you're going to take one of your leaves and you're going to put it in this dry cup, because we're going to experiment with what happens when a plant just doesn't have water at all. So we're learning how plants transport all these the water to their leaves, or the water through their xylem and phloem, which you can see in the bigger celery stalks that I provided you. So I'm not going to show you the leaves yet. We'll wait for that for next week. So just leave it and leave it for a day and see what kind of results you get. I made this one last night, and you can actually see in the end of it how it's pumped all of that food coloring up through its veins, which are xylem and phloem. And if there were leaves on the end of this, you could actually see how it would actually transport those things to the leaves. Because as you will notice, on these leaves, you have all these little veins. People talk about plant leaves having veins. That's the extension of those little xylem and phloem, which are the little veins of the plant. And so they're going to take that water and pump it to their leaves so they can perform photosynthesis and stay hydrated, right? Everybody's talking about us staying hydrated. Plants have to do the same thing because they're just as alive as us. So perform those experiments. We'll see what happens, and next week I'll come back and we'll actually see what happens with this experiment. So have fun.